Hey, this is René, welcome back to another video on this channel. Today I will work again on this moving average direction strategy. And if you watched the last video, you have the raw strategy already that just trades the moving average direction. Yeah, I can show it to you real quick in the strategy tester. And then today I want to add some of the requested features that you wrote as a video comment below the last video. For example, we will add TP and stop loss, and we will add stuff like a filter for sideways market periods, and yeah, then just see how it turns out. So you can see here right now, this strategy just trades like whenever the moving average is increasing, it will open a buy trade. If it is decreasing, it will open a sell trade, and that's pretty much the strategy. At some point, we also turned it around in the source code, but yeah, that's just what you prefer. So let's have a look at the code together, and I think I will link it again below the video. So if you are too lazy to write the code on your own, and if you don't want to learn anything, you can just copy it from there. So first of all, yeah, this should be the original strategy. Yes. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add input variables for the TP points, or maybe TP %, trying something new here that I didn't show too often in the tutorials, I think. SL %. So we will calculate the TP and SL as a percentage based on the current symbol price. Also, yeah, no, that's it. So we need TP and SL %, and what we will do now in the code before we open a position, we will calculate the prices. So first of all, we can calculate the entry price, which will be for a buy position, symbol info double, it will be the ask price, symbol ask, like this. And then it's always a good idea to round these prices, as always, to make sure that there are no rounding issues. And then we calculate the TP, which is of course entry plus, oh wait, let's make this a little bit different. We will create a variable for the ask price here, and whoops, sorry, ask like this. So we will store the ask price of the chart symbol in this ask variable. Then we will calculate the entry price, which is pretty much just the ask price. And then we will start calculating the TP, which is entry, plus ask multiplied with TP % divided by 100, I think. And then we should round this, TP and digits. And for the stop loss, we will do pretty much the same, but of course we will subtract the calculation this time. SL % divided by 100, and we should round this. So if we do the same thing for the sell positions, we just have to copy this, paste it here, and of course we will work with the bid price instead of the ask price, but the rest is pretty much the same. So the entry will be just the rounded bid price, the TP will be the entry price minus the bid price multiplied with the TP %, and the stop loss will be entry plus the bid price multiplied with SL %. Now we of course have to use these variables that we just created. So we would say we don't just want to buy the current chart symbol, but we also want to provide a entry, a stop loss, and a TP value. So we will have these values for the trades that we open, like this. And now, if you have a look at this, like the code is starting to get a little bit bigger, it's getting a little bit more messy. So what you can do in this case is, it's always a good idea to make the code easier by just writing separate functions. So for example, I can take this, I can cut everything out, like all the code that is used to execute a buy position, and then we will just write this execute buy function. So right now, this is of course not working because this execute buy function is not defined. But if we go at the very end of our program and we just say we want to execute buy, we want to create this function here and place all the code inside of the function body that are just cut at the top from the onTick function, you can see this will now work. And what is happening is, it's really simple. Like when the code reaches this line and it sees that there's the execute buy statement, it will just search in the complete file here for this specific function, execute by, and it will find this function here, and then we'll just execute the body. So everything that's inside of this, or inside of these curly brackets of this function. And then we'll just execute everything like it did before. So nothing changes, but the code is more readable and shorter. Like you want to, in an ideal program, the onTick function is like kind of short and easy to read, or at least as short as possible. And for a function like execute by or execute cell, the name kind of says what the function does. So it's easier to write the code like this, and it will be easier to like just read the onTick function like this, because it's now a lot shorter, and you know anyways what these functions do, because it's really a simple task. Okay, so if we have a look at the program again, and if I run the program again, we should now see that every trade should have a TP and a stop loss. So you can see here, like the TP is 0.5% of the symbol price, and the stop loss is also 0.5% of the index price, the symbol price. And you can see here we already hit the TP. I mean, yeah, this can be good. This doesn't have to be good. It depends on the trade, I think. But yeah, so you can see sometimes it just takes away some of the profits, but in these videos, I just want to show you like programming concepts. You never have to use them. You can use them. You can modify it in any possible way that you want. So just take these as some ideas, and yeah, we can have a look. So yeah, I don't know if this is beneficial for the strategy, but just play around with it. I mean, I will share the source code so you can do whatever you want. You can also add a trailing stop and everything. I did this several times in some videos on YouTube, so I won't do it again in this video. But I will start to add some filters now to try to filter out the sideways markets. And therefore, we will use the Bollinger Bands indicator, I think, because I feel like this could be something that is useful, because if the bands are really close together, it usually means that there's a sideways movement. And if the bands are increasing or really wide, it kind of means that there's a increase in momentum, like in the market. So I still have to figure out how exactly I want to analyze this, because I mean, we could just define a specific amount of or a specific width that the Bollinger Bands should have to like activate trading, like for example 500 points or 600 or 700 points. And yeah, I think this would probably be the easiest way. So maybe we should do this, or maybe we should keep it as a percentage also. So that's what we did so far. So we can, yeah, let's create the Bollinger Bands here, like in the easiest way. We will create the Bollinger Bands period, and we will create the Bollinger Bands deviation, I think. Is it deviation? Let me have a look at the inputs. Yeah, it's deviation. So we will use these two inputs here as input variables, and then of course, because we're working with another indicator, we will use another handle for this, and we will initialize the handle in the onInit function. In this case, we don't use the IMA function like we did before, but we will use the iBands function. The rest is kind of similar. We use the symbol, the time frame, the BB periods. Make sure to use the Bollinger Bands periods now and not the periods from the moving average that we used before. Then the shift, I usually use 0. And then we have the BB deviation and the applied price. Yeah, we can just hard code the closed price again. Okay, so now we will have to calculate the Bollinger Bands value. So copy buffer, like everything's the same. There's nothing new here. That's why I'm not explaining a lot. Like this is always the same when you work with indicators. So in this case, the buffer number is a little bit different than before. The moving average only had one line, so we could choose the main line. In this case, we have upper band and lower band for the Bollinger Bands. And then we have the starting position 1, the count can be 1, we store it in the BB upper array. And we will create a BB lower array also, like this, and then we will get the values for the lower BB line also. So lower band, the rest stays kind of the same, and now we have the values in this in these two arrays. They both only hold one value, and we will use the upper band and subtract the lower band to get the distance between them. Then we check if it's above the maximum or minimum distance. So we can create a variable for this, like is Bollinger Bands filter, is Bollinger Bands minimum distance, something like this. And then we can just say, we want the BB upper value minus BB lower value. And this should be greater than the symbol price, symbol info double, symbol bit, multiplied with this input double BB min size. I don't know, something like this. BB min size. So something like this. This should be okay. And yeah, then we have the is BB min distance. And now before we open a position, we can just check this criteria. Is BB min distance, like this. And yeah, so this will take care of the Bollinger Bands distance. And if we start the program again, we should filter some of these trades that are opened when the Bollinger Bands are too close together. So let's check this out. Okay, so here we have a trade, and we can see that the Bollinger Bands are, yeah, they are, like the distance is big enough, I think, but it was really close. So we should have a look at one or two more examples. Or maybe I can also print this in the chart comments so it's easier to see it. Like, let's have a look at this. BB filter is BB min distance, and then we just print the Bollinger Bands values. And BB lower. Like this. Compile it, and there's a problem somewhere. Oh yeah, forgot to close the round brackets here. Okay, so let's start this again and see what it does. Yeah, so you can see in the upper left corner, this sometimes turns to false. And I think this is great. It seems to work. So let's have a look at, like, when we see the next signal. Yeah, there was a signal somewhere here that we did not take because the Bollinger Bands were too close to each other. So you can see this filter is working somehow. Yeah, now we just have to figure out if this is a good thing or a bad thing. So maybe we can say that if TP percent is greater than 0. So we will change the code a bit so we can turn off the the TP and SL calculation like this. So now the TP and SL will only be calculated if TP and SL percent is greater than 0. So like this. SL percent is greater than 0. SL should be entry plus blah blah blah. And we can do the same thing with the. We could do the same thing with the BB min size. I mean, it doesn't really make sense because we could just use a BB Bollinger Bands minimum size of 0, and then we would trade every time. So yeah, it's an easy way to turn off the filter. Okay, so let's check this again. Let's change the inputs for SL and TP to 0, and then just use the filter. And then we should see that it should filter some of these trades. And then we will have a look at this makes the performance better or worse. I mean, there are some upsides and downsides to filtering like this, because often these filters are just like too slow to really do something. And yeah, so you can see it does not make the system profitable like from one moment to another. But yeah, it might be a little bit better here, I think, but still we don't really filter like the sideways periods like here. So it's not really perfect, I think. So let's have a look at why we cannot filter these periods. Yeah, I think a big problem is maybe the threshold is not high enough. 520. Yeah, maybe we just change the filter a bit, so we increase it to 0.75 maybe, and this should filter a lot of these trades in the best case. Yeah, but the problem is like whenever you use a indicator to filter sideways markets, it's really hard, because often when you are at the beginning of the sideways market, of course, the filter is still, like, for example, the Bollinger Bands are still really wide, because all of these indicators, they just react a little bit slowly. And that's why if you're at the end of a sideways market, then you usually have the filter, or the Bollinger Bands, for example, would be really narrow. But in this case, like the next period with more market movement is just ahead. So filters are usually a little bit too slow. And this is a big problem. I mean, you could use it, you could turn the filter around, you would use it as a counter filter and stuff. There are different things that you can try. And again, with these tutorials, I just want to give you like 1 or 2 tools, and you can change it whenever you want, so it fits your strategy, your idea for trading. I mean, this doesn't really seem to make a big difference, but we see a lot less trades. The question is if this is good or bad. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would have to do more testing, but I think this is something you can do on your own. So again, I will just post the source code again, and you can just copy it. Maybe I will talk about the changes one more time that I did in this video. And yeah, then you can just play around with it. Okay, so let's have a look at the code once again. First of all, we calculated the TP and the stop loss. Before we open the trades, this is really easy. Oh, also I moved the execute buy and execute sell function to another place, or I created these functions down here. Let's have a look at the execute buy, for example. In this function, we just receive the current ask price for the symbol, which we can do using the symbol info double function. Then we calculate the entry price, or we just round the ask price to get the entry price. Then we calculate the TP, but we only do this if the TP percent input is greater than 0. So if the user doesn't want to use any TP, he can just put 0 for the TP percent input. Yeah, but if it's greater than 0, then we calculate the TP by adding the ask price multiplied with the TP percent input divided by 100 to the current entry price for this order, and then we round the value. And for stop loss, it's pretty much the same. So we check if we want to use a stop loss, and in this case we just calculate it, round it, and then for the buy function we of course provide these variables, so they will be set, or there will be a stop loss and a TP level for this trade. Yeah. So that's what we did with the position opening, adding the TP and the stop loss, and also moving everything to separate functions to make the on-tick function look cleaner. Also, I added 3 more inputs and a global variable for the Bollinger Bands calculation. So in the on-tick function, we first of all created the Bollinger Bands handle. We can do this using the iBands function. This is a function that's part of the MQL5 framework, so we can use it right away. And we just provide all the requested parameters using a lot of these input variables, so the user is able to define what specific Bollinger Bands indicator he wants to use. Also in the onTick function, then we calculate the Bollinger Bands values for the upper and the lower band using these upper band and lower band identifiers for the buffer number. I mean, you could also choose 0 and 1, I think, or 1 and 2. I don't really know what the values are, but I think it's easier to just use upper band and lower band because we have these identifiers in the MQL5 framework. And yeah, but I mean, you can read it. It's just like, where are the bands? Yeah, you can see here upper band is just 1 and lower band is just 2. So yeah, you can use whatever you want. And then we just check if the Bollinger Bands, like the distance between these Bollinger Bands is at minimum, like the BB minimum size input, which is again a percentage of the current market price, the bid price. And yeah, if this is true, yeah, I mean, we just check this before we open a position. And if it's true, we open the position. If it's not true, we don't open the position. As easy as that. And yeah, also I added this code to show the information in the chart. But that's pretty much it. So I hope you were able to follow along, understood these changes. And yeah, play around with this concept. You can apply this to any other indicator. So someone was writing, you want to use the ADX, average directional index, and you can just find this function here. So you see there are 3 parameters, symbol period and ADX period. You can just create a handle for the ADX, and then you can just use the copy buffer function to get the values. You can do this for any indicator, pretty much, for any standard indicator. So yeah, just play around with this. Maybe you can find some settings, or at least learn something about trading using this program. Also, if you're interested in learning more about MQL5 programming, I have a complete course. You can check it out in the video description. And in this course, I explain everything like in complete detail, not as fast as on YouTube. I explain everything really slow, so even as an absolute beginner, you can understand it. Also, the price for the course will increase in the next month. So I think in April it will be €100 more expensive. So make sure to check it out now if you're interested in learning more. And yeah, I hope that you were able to use something from this video. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm always glad to read the comments and reply to them. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Until then, have a great time and good trades. Bye bye.